With the much anticipated My Villain Academia arc having finished in the anime somewhat recently, I thought a fun video to do would be one focusing on the series' villains as a whole. So today I'm going to be ranking all of My Hero Academia's villains from weakest to strongest. Now before I get into this, some things have to be said so this video doesn't get really dumb. For one, I'm not counting the use of the trigger drug. It's basically a cheat code anyone can use and it makes the video kind of boring if I consider it. Second, some characters just don't have a lot to go on, like we don't know how strong Ending is without trigger, and we have almost no feats for Star Servant. I also don't want to waste time discussing support type characters such as Tengai, Setsuno, or Kurogiri. No one really cares about who wins between Trumpet and the dude who makes people drunk. Although I will say before anyone brings it up, yes, Kurogiri can rip people apart with portals. However, he never does this despite many characters being slower than him, meaning it is very unreliable as a combat option, so he's kind of relegated to a support position. Last thing is that there are a lot of factors to consider for this list, so it takes into account a character's full capabilities, not just raw power. Alright, I think that covers it. We have like 25 characters to get through, so let's get this started already. At number 25, we have Curious, as she is just bafflingly weak. She requires loads of prep time just to be useful, has a quirk that is stated to be lacking in power, and had to use numbers to even have a chance against Toga. Plus, she was only able to really counterattack on her own when Toga was already heavily injured. She has no feats that make her seem remotely impressive, so she easily earns the bottom spot on this list. Up next at number 24, we have Skeptic. Skeptic's anthropomorphic quirk is useful in that it has power in numbers, and using his equipment, he can stay very far away from the actual fight. Unfortunately, the anthropomorphs themselves are pretty weak. The most impressive thing they did was break Twice's arm when they got him into the proper position, so while he himself can avoid actually fighting, his means of combat are pretty much fodder. At number 23, Spinner hits the list. Spinner is, as you might have noticed, pretty weak. Having a mutation quirk, he does seem to have some increased physical abilities, and he does have a skill with a blade. But unfortunately, even in his own family, his quirk is weak. His only real virtues are the fact that the absolute beating he took in MVA didn't kill him, and he can cut people up pretty damn well. Now at number 22, we have Mustard, and it really hurts me to put this little shit above Spinner because I love Spinner. I mean, this man is so weak that he had to rely on a gun to have any combat potential, but he has a gun, so here we are. Now granted, his quirk is somewhat useful as it spans a wide area and he can detect people within it. It's a solid quirk. Luckily, the prey stops there. When the big counter to his whole strategy is holding your breath for a good bit and a good punch to the face, he kinda sucks, and he got arrested on day 1 for a reason. He'd be completely helpless against someone with any sort of speed or durability advantage as they would rush him and finish the fight in an instant. At number 21, we have Moonfish. Moonfish is not terribly weak as he has solid maneuverability, high combat experience, and was able to stab through Todoroki's ice. However, he is lacking in speed, with Bakugo able to dodge the attack without even using an explosion to propel himself. So while I consider him above the characters already mentioned, his lack of physical stats really limits him to go any further on this list. At numbers 20 and 19, we have 2 of the 8 bullets, pretty much tied due to a lack of feats with Yu Hojo and Soramitsu Tabe. Now we don't have a lot of info on them. They were strong and fast enough to land solid hits on Tamaki using teamwork, but outside of this fight, Tamaki's best feat is knocking aside some PLF members. So the best I can say for them is that they are probably above the average PLF member. And at number 18 is another 8 bullet member, Rikiya Katsukame. His best feature is his physical brawn, but even that wasn't much as all we saw him do was punch down a metal door and hurt some cops. It's true that with his vitality stealing quirk, he can eventually put up a fight against the likes of Ryukyu, but he only accomplished this feat with the use of trigger, so I imagine the absorption rate is normally rather slow. So while he is physically powerful compared to some of the characters below him, and he has the potential to be stronger, it's very unlikely he'll be able to reach any impressive level of strength against those that can put him down quickly. Next we have Mr. Compress taking the stage at number 17. Now as he himself puts it, his only good points are tricks and running away, but he is very good at them. When he's running away during the camp arc and Deku was out of commission, they commented that they wish Ida was there to do something, meaning he was that much faster than the rest of them. With that much speed on his side and the fact that his quirk lets him end any fight by just touching his opponent, he gets a decent spot on this list. The only problem is that there are plenty of characters who can outspeed him, making it so he can't be much higher. Now number 16 is Magne. Magne has some surprisingly good physical capabilities, able to fight evenly with Tiger, and this is after Tiger is shown outmaneuvering and damaging 5% Deku. This puts Magne somewhat above 5% Deku in speed and power via scaling. Her quirk is also useful in combination with her magnet, as she can pull people towards her and away from her with enough force to put Mount Lady out of commission. With this level of speed, power, and battle control, Magne easily earns this spot on the list. Next on the list, we have Gentle Criminal in Lover Mode at number 15. Now Gentle being stronger than those below him is not exactly a hard sell. After all, in his fight with Deku, he was overpowering him at 8%. Plus, his quirk is one of the most versatile in the series, and powerful enough to totally pin Deku down. The only reason he lost was because of Air Force and Deku improving his tactical skills and hand-to-hand combat. Now at number 14, I have Stain. While Stain is less powerful than some of the characters I have already listed, there are a few reasons I have him this high. For one, he was faster than 5% Deku, and the only times Deku landed a hit was by catching him off guard. That does probably make him slower than empowered Gentle, but what Stain makes up for in this case is in the nature of his quirk. Stain only needs one little nick on the arm, just the tiniest cut with the tiniest amount of blood, and he wins most 1v1 fights. Add that to the sheer amount of a beating he can take, and he definitely deserves to be at least this high. Just above Stain, at number 13, I have Toga for a few reasons. Her main feature is speed. She made Aizawa look like a joke in the Overhaul arc and got a clean hit on him. She blitzed through and killed multiple heroes during the war. She also has the unexplained ability to erase her presence, which Mr. Compress states to only be countered by sensory abilities. She can pretty much just appear at you and slit your throat. That isn't even considering her transformation quirk, which would mean if she gets even a little bit of blood, she can use the powers of whoever she is fighting against. Granted, she has the ability to pull that off. All this considered, she really should not be underestimated and deserves to be this high. At number 12, we have Rappa. Now, he's a character that could definitely be lower on this list. After all, many of them have much more versatility in their kit and can overall do much more. That being said, Rappa is not a man who relies on such things. He punches fast and he punches hard. He punches with enough force to bust through a layer of Unbreakable, which is power that the people below him simply do not show. That isn't to say that he would 100% of the time beat everyone below him on this list, but the sheer power he has gives him a very solid chance and justifies his place. Now at number 11, we have probably one of the more controversial placements in the USJ Nomu. I'll start by saying that while the USJ Nomu was able to fight All Might, this was an All Might that was significantly weaker. Even if we don't take his exact words literally, it's by a pretty massive degree. And now we're getting to a point in the story where some characters are reaching that prime level. You can argue that they aren't quite there, but the degree of difference is nowhere near as large. There's also the fact that the Nomu was only able to fight All Might because it had a quirk to specialize against him. It was almost one-shot by the much weaker Shoto Todoroki, so it only has resistance to blunt force trauma, lacking all other forms of durability and able to be damaged by much weaker characters. So the only reason I have it so high is the speed and strength it does have, but it's not enough to go any higher on this list. And this brings me to the top 10 on the list, and at number 10 we have Overhaul. Now I did say this list would have them at their strongest, and for him that would probably be his kaiju form. Although that doesn't matter as much since he can fuse with anyone else on the battlefield. Even in weaker forms, he was able to react to 20% Deku because the movements were too simple. His only weakness is his lack of speed, since 100% Deku was able to totally blitz him. But that's the thing, 100% Deku was absolutely necessary to beat him because he can constantly heal himself completely and kill any single character with just a touch. If he can't land that hit, then he loses, but that's really his only weakness. Now at number 9, I have Twice. Twice is a power and numbers kind of guy, but power and numbers isn't all he has. Twice's biggest strength is that he can double not only himself, but the allies he is confirmed to be able to double. This includes the League members like Shigaraki. Now his doubles of others are based on the last point of measurement, and we don't know if he updated his measurements of Shigi after his awakening, but even so, a massive army of any of the League members along with Sadman's Parade is just broken. His only weakness are when characters have the speed and capability to target his doubles during their creation, like Hawks, which is where we start to get into the upper tiers of the series as a whole. At number 8, we have Muscular. Muscular is a bundle of muscle, moving fast and hitting hard. Even as early as the camp arc, he was blitzing Deku at 5% and overpowering his 100%. And he doesn't do as bad in their rematch as it seems. The fact that Deku needed Black Whip and Danger Sense to not take hits means that Muscular is still fast enough to keep up with 30% Deku otherwise. A powerhouse is all he is, but he's still enough of it to be this high on the list. Now at number 7, I have Getten, one of the premier powerhouses of the MLA. Someone who Redestro trusted to take on Dabi, one of the main powerhouses of the league. With what appears to be a rather casual attack, he completely wrecks multiple city blocks and clashes with Dabi's super hot flames. This is also added to the fact that the series takes place in an urban environment where there is practically an unlimited amount of water at his disposal to turn into ice. His sheer strength, wide range of attack, and mid-air maneuverability makes him perfect for this spot on the list. And just above him at number 6 is Getten's own superior, Redestro. Redestro is another powerhouse. He shows even more destructive power than Getten with his burden attack, and we've never even seen his full power with Claustro, because Shigaraki was making him feel less stressed as their fight went on. Now going back to Muscular at number 10, I would totally understand if you wanted to put him above both Getten and Redestro. As scaling does show, he probably has a very decent speed advantage against them. However, I personally think both of them showcase more power, and they make up for that lack of speed in their wide attack range. Although I totally understand if you disagree, one could honestly reason it either way. Moving on from that, at number 5, we have Dabi. Now, Dabi is really fucking strong. His quirk is just a stronger version of Endeavor's quirk, with the blowback from it being the only reason we don't see him use flash fire all the time. But when he's serious, he completely overpowers Shoto to an embarrassing degree. We also know he can use his fire to fly like Endeavor, and if he applied flash fire to that as well, then we know he'd be insanely fast, since we've already seen Endeavor keep up with Shigaraki. His only weakness is stamina, but most fights he should be able to finish in a few attacks if he really tries. Next at number 4 is Lady Nagant, a recent and very short-term villain, but one of the strongest in the series to date. Her rifle quirk on its own is insane, with her bullets being so fast that even Danger Sense has trouble keeping up with it, and so strong that Deku takes noticeable damage from a single hit. And when she really tries, Deku has to combine multiple quirks just to be a little bit faster. That isn't to mention that her airwalk combined with her rifle shots makes her an insanely fast mobile sniper. One of the most dangerous quirk combinations in the entire series. Now entering the top 3, at number 3 is the high-end Nomu, Hood, and technically the other high-end, since they should all be on or around the same relative level. They possess power and speed above that of Endeavor, and were only being killed by Endeavor's strongest attack and Mirko kicking them apart, two of the strongest heroes in the series. Their multiple quirks give them the advantage of unpredictability and versatility, and their regeneration makes them ridiculously hard to kill when stacked on top of their insane stats. At number 2 is Gigantomachia. He is a similar case to Redestro, where he definitely lacks in speed compared to other characters, but makes up for it with sheer power and durability, just on an even greater scale. The man is so strong that whenever he's in a fight, Horikoshi has to write it in a certain way to excuse the fact that he doesn't just straight up murder everyone there. Now unfortunately, we are lacking in feats, as he hasn't gotten into a full serious fight with any upper tier characters, but the hype behind him is more than enough to justify this. There's also the fact that he did significant damage to a mountainside, and only god tier characters have shown above that level of power before. I don't think anyone is going to really contest his placement too much. And that leaves just one person at number 1, the man, the myth, the legend, Shigaraki himself. Now there is a lot I could say. He fought multiple of the strongest heroes alive and didn't die. He has the same regeneration as the Nomu, just with a higher stamina cost at the moment. He has physical stats comparable to fucking All Might, and they aren't talking about his weaker days. He has multiple quirks, including the ability to know anyone's weaknesses, and none of that would compare to the fact that Decay is just overpowered. Anyone he touches dies. Anyone who touches something that Shigaraki touches dies. Anyone standing in a several mile radius of where he touches the ground dies. The man is ridiculous, and unless you want to bring up Prime All For One, who we know jack shit about, then he is by far the strongest villain in the series. And that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If it does well, who knows, maybe I'll do another video on the movie villains or something. That'd be kinda fun. So if you did like it, do be sure to support the video, liking and commenting on all that. But thanks for watching. Have a good one and take care.